Hello and welcome back to the 1203 experience. Man, do we have a show today. Got some echo happening, Parker. Let's get welcome to the 1203, everybody. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about how much of a scumbag Joe Kelly is today. So we're going to break down the whole incident and why we have that stance on why Joe Kelly is a dirtbag who ran away from a fight even though he wanted it, and he's the one that instigated it. We're going to get into it. Parker, how are you today, man?
Putting him on a pedestal. I saw one of those tweets that said Joe Kelly is like the hero we all needed, or they were trying to compare him to Batman or whatever. Joe Kelly is not a superhero. He's a madman. He's a crazy guy, and I'm glad he's been suspended for 8 games. We can move on with our lives knowing the Joe Kellys of the world are suspended and put away like they rightfully should be. There's no room for that in the game of baseball, throwing at people's heads. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we'll break down the whole incident and the suspension a lot more in detail as we get into it. If you're a regular of the show, you can see a couple things have changed. We've got a little bit different layout. I got a little creative, went for something a little more brighter. I hope y'all like the new layout. We got something new for the browser when we're bringing up videos, so it's going to look real nice. Another new thing, Parker's background has changed. Parker has moved to Kerrville.
Yep, got my own little podcast room now. And so if you guys, on Old Main Entertainment YouTube page, I did a video with my dad the other day, and same background, same setup. I really like it, so I don't have to worry about people, coming behind me. If someone sneaks up behind me, I'm in some serious trouble because I'm the only one who lives here. So it'd be pretty scary if you had interference now.
I got your back.
Yeah. So, it'd be too late. You'd be in Snyder. I'd be dead. But, it would make for a good live stream.
I think we get a lot of views.
Guy dies talking about sports in Kerrville.
Joe Kelly
comes
out of nowhere. And,
if Joe Kelly's here, I could take Joe Kelly. That dude.
He'll just mean lip you the
entire time. He'll just give me the lip, and I won't have any of it. And there's nobody holding me back. I got nothing to lose, bud. Well, I do have more to lose now, but 2 months ago, I would have whooped him.
Man, there's just a big incident last night in the Astros-Dodgers game. So for those of you that don't know, in the Astros-Dodgers game last night, a game with no fans in attendance because of the whole COVID-19 situation. Welcome Patrick and Ryan Graff to the show, by the way. Appreciate you guys tuning in and hearing us talk crap about Joe Kelly and how much of a dirtbag he is. We're about to jump into that. In the game last night, Dodgers won the game 5-2. Despite they could have scored a lot more runs, I kind of figured they would, considering we were pitching two dudes that had never pitched. One guy had never pitched past AA ball. The other one had never even pitched past A ball. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. They only scored 5 runs against them. A little bit of a consolation prize there for the Astros. But in the 6th inning, Joe Kelly came on in relief for the Dodgers and put on a show. This is the best way to put it.
It was a show.
It was definitely a show. He was definitely entertaining. I'll give him that much. In a span of about, 5 at-bats, 5 different batters, he threw at 3 different dudes, including 2 fastballs, one at Bregman's head, one at Altuve's head, and got chippy with Michael Brantley over a pretty common baseball incident. That was entirely his fault because he was standing on the front of the base. We're going to get into that. Well, it'll be in this video that we're going to break it all down with. So he was standing on the base when Brantley stepped on his ankle, got pissy about that, got called a mother effer by Dusty Baker, which is amazing. I don't know if you caught that moment, but
that's the reason Dusty came to the Astros for things like that. Because I love AJ Hinch. He strikes me as more of a strategic type guy, but Dusty Baker, he's going to let his players play, and he's going to stick up for his players. And that's exactly what he did. He sounded just like a dude in the dugout, just another player. He sounded like another player that he was ready to go out and fight Joe Kelly. I don't think Joe Kelly wanted any of Correa. And I think he was also a little bit scared of Dusty Baker coming out there.
No, and Andrew Zimmel has joined the chat, firing some shots. He says Astros fans crying is always content that he lives for. Wouldn't call what we're doing crying. In fact, I think we are being very aggressive taking shots. I think crying would be whining about the situation. I'd rather like to say we're defending the Astros and the fact that if you can find a reason to excuse what Joe Kelly did last night and think that it's okay and think that him not being suspended was the right thing to do, you're wrong. It's simple as that.
I can't read. I don't read anything Andrew types anymore or tweets. I just ignore him now. I can't make sense of it anymore. It used to be funny and cool when we were hanging out in college, but now I don't know what he's saying half the time. It's so over the edge crazy that I just disagree with everything he says. So I just tune it out. I've got a spot in my mind that, boom, makes my life a whole lot easier, Reed. I suggest you do the same.
Things got personal on the 1203 today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But no, let's get into it. So let's jump to the video and really discuss, kind of break down what happened, right? So here's the video. We've got Alex Bregman at the plate, right? Alex Bregman's at the plate, Joe Kelly on the mound. First pitch, that's a 3-0 count. That's a 3-0 count thrown at his head. Whether it hit him or not, that ball is thrown at his head. 96 miles per hour. The Dodgers are so high on the whole not cheating, breaking this unwritten rule in baseball. Hey, you don't cheat in baseball. It's an unwritten rule. You don't sign steals. You don't steal signs. Unwritten rule in baseball. That has been one of their biggest arguing points. One of the biggest unwritten rules in the entire sport is you don't throw fastballs at people's head. You want to get revenge? You hit them in the shoulders. You hit them in the thigh. You don't throw it at the head. There's no excuse for that. There never has been. Anybody in their right mind knows that this stupid cheating thing, that there is proof that other teams are doing it, isn't worthy of potential harm to a dude who's, 25 years old? He's in the very early prime of his
24,
career.
25.
Joe Kelly's a 32-year-old washed up nobody throwing at Alex Bregman's head, and that's okay? It's okay to throw at people's head now.
Well, I just don't think the punishment fits the crime. So you want to decapitate someone for stealing signs. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if he slept with your mom or something, then yeah, I'd understand you wanting to throw at his head, or I don't know, maybe he shot your dog or something. But the fact they stole signs and now you want to end the guy's career, could send him to the hospital. I mean, could really mess him up. And people saying that, oh, that's what helmets are for. No, that's stupid. Helmets do not help you that much, and helmets come off. It's not like you're
throwing 95 plus.
Yeah, it's not like you're wearing a football helmet. It's different. Those helmets come off all the time. People still get dinged up pretty good in baseball helmets. So the punishment does not fit the crime. You trying to end a man's career is not the answer, and he deserves to be suspended for what he got, 8 games. I think that's fair.
I 100% agree. And the people calling the Astros the lowlives in this situation, you threw at Bregman's head 3-0, pretty clearly intentional. What did he do? He took his base. Walked to first base. All right, you're going to try and hit me. You're going to give me the free base. I'm going to take the base. Next man up, Brantley comes in. Right? Hits a ground ball to the right side of the infield. I got to get this video up. Hits a ground ball to the right side of the infield. All right, so watch here on first base. They'll probably show the replay. You couldn't really see it there. Essentially, Kelly, when he goes to guard the base, right there, stands in front of the base, so Brantley steps on his foot while trying to run first base. And he took offense to that, right? Joe Kelly starts mouthing off to Michael Brantley about him having stepped on his foot. And that's when Dusty Baker comes in, saying about, telling him that he's a little effort. He needs to get back on the mound. So that's another incident where Joe Kelly is not in the right there. Why are you getting upset with Michael Brantley when you're the one that was standing right in front of the base? There's nothing to defend there.
Yeah.
That's another
And
incident of Joe
I
Kelly
don't
being a
know.
toddler.
I don't know why Joe Kelly was going after Uncle Mike. Just the inconsistency of the logic here with Joe Kelly. First of all, Joe Kelly wasn't on the Dodgers in 2017.
He was not.
He was on the cheating Red Sox. I repeat, the cheating 2018 Red Sox, who cheated as well, also won that year. Won the whole thing cheating, and they beat the Dodgers as well. So if anybody should be, they beat the Dodgers in the World Series as well. He's guilty of the same exact crime, stealing a World Series from the Dodgers and cheating, as the Astros were in 2017. So this is the biggest hypocrite out there. And, I mean, I still think he can be a good pitcher, whatever. He had some control issues last night. Even the guys on FS1 talked about Joe Kelly having some control issues. But I think they were just covering up the fact that he was trying to peg the players. But, I mean, the dude doesn't make any sense. And then he goes after, he starts to go after Brantley, who wasn't even on the 2017 Astros. So it's just like, come on. I mean, Dusty Baker's probably in the dugout. Come on, guys. We've had enough. We've had enough of this. Just let's play some baseball. And I think it was a good game for the most part, but some of the stuff Joe Kelly did just did not make sense. It was coming from Joe Kelly. If it was somebody else, I would have understood it. Somebody who actually, like maybe Kenley Jansen came in and started pegging people. Okay, cool, whatever. But Joe Kelly, out of all people, is the guy that's going to do this. I mean, I guess he's a wild card. That's his thing. But he's just as guilty. He's guilty by association with the Red Sox. So I don't understand it.
And let's make this very clear. If, like you said, if Kenley Jansen had come in and hit Bregman between the shoulder blades and then done with it, we're over this and we're already on to game 2. Dodgers win a good close game, right? They get revenge for the World Series. Great game for the Dodgers. We've moved on. Like, it's done. It's out of the way. But for a team that is just preached how the Astros broke this unwritten rule in 2017, to throw at a dude's head, and not only throw just at Bregman, he threw a fastball high at Altuve, and then he almost hit Correa with a curveball. Now, it's a curveball, but it's a curveball coming in 88. It's still going to bruise. But again, if that's what had been the initial retaliation, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. We'd have been talking how bad the Astros pitching looked in the game.
Yes, which we're still going to do. But now we have to reluctantly focus on the fact that Joe Kelly was out of line. And we have to talk about it because the media wants to play it off as he's some kind of hero. I'm glad Commissioner Rob Manfred didn't fall for all that crap, and he's sticking to his guns. I give him credit for the 8-game suspension. There's a reason he was suspended 8 games. It's because you can't do that crap. You can't. And so it's just all around a bad situation for Joe Kelly. The Dodgers were the better team last night. Let's give them credit. But what Joe Kelly did really takes away from that Dodgers win. And exactly. It does make it exciting baseball. I will admit, anytime there's fights that could happen, it makes for exciting baseball. But it's not what we want to sit here and talk about. We want to talk about what's going on in the field. And now we have to talk about, who's going to throw at the Astros next? What's going to happen? Is it going to be a whole season thing or what's the deal here? Because it's just that's all people care about now. They don't care about the win. They don't care about the loss. They just care about, who's pegging the Astros next? That's the big story everybody cares about. Now, whoever throws at someone's head now is going to be considered a legend now. It's going to be considered a hero. Joe Kelly threw at somebody's head, and now people are comparing him to the next hero, like Batman. They're calling him the hero we all need. It's like, come on. You can't praise a guy for throwing a 99-mile-per-hour fastball, 98, at somebody's head. That's ridiculous.
It's just wrong. And, of course, let's get to some of the comments. Brendan Snow, welcome to the show, old friend of ours. Hope you're doing okay, Brendan. Said, bad take on Joe Kelly being a washed-up nobody, see 2018 World Series. Again,
we talked about the 2018 World Series.
You have a point there. And yes, the Red Sox cheated in the World Series.
Joe Kelly was good, I'll give him that.
So Joe Kelly was a pitcher, so he had nothing to do with the cheating. But he didn't say anything about it, and he wasn't offended by it until now. But like Patrick said, in the 2019 playoffs, he was pitching for the LA Dodgers, and he was a bum. He gave up a grand slam to Howie Kendrick, who's not a power hitter.
Yeah,
now,
Patrick
we got
knows
hit pretty hard by Howie Kendrick, But that still
Patrick knows
proves
his
my
baseball.
point.
That was cool. They showed that too. They were like, okay, let's watch a clip of Joe Kelly. Last year, Joe Kelly, boom. That grand slam was beautiful. I mean, he still played last year, and he's probably better. He's probably even worse than he was last year. He's probably slowly declining. So, I mean, you saying he's washed up, he's a shell of what he was. I mean, he's a shell of what he was in 2018, I think. I think it's fair to say. So you saying he's washed up is not completely a bad take, Brendan. Just go back to last year, like Patrick was saying.
The fact of the matter is, Joe Kelly is not an elite reliever. He's not, he's not Kenley Jansen. He's not Roberto Osuna. He's not a big name. He's just a middle of the meal dude, right? Never been an outstanding pitcher. He's had some good moments. For him to come in and act like he's this boss enforcer with just this clean, spotty background, and to do it as unprofessionally as he did, is an awful look for him and an awful look for the Dodgers. I'm not even upset with the Dodgers over this. This was Joe Kelly taking actions into his own hands.
Not at all.
The Dodgers,
Dodgers handled themselves well for the most part. Yeah.
I mean, and whenever the two teams went out to talk things out, the entire rest of the Dodgers team was out talking to the Astros. Joe Kelly's ass is on the bench. He's in the dugout.
The Dodgers, Justin Turner, Mookie Betts, Bellinger, all those guys were out in front saying, "Listen, we don't know whatever that guy's doing. We're not really supporting that. We're out here trying to calm things down." This was rogue Joe Kelly taking matters into his own hands. I don't know. Maybe quarantine's got him messed up. Maybe he's angry. Maybe
this is just who he is, man.
Maybe him and his wife aren't getting along too well right now. But
he did break their window.
Okay, he did. Did he do that? Really?
That's him.
Really?
Yeah. You remember that preseason video where the dude throwing?
I was just spitballing here.
Throwing to a net 10 feet in front of him. Now he was using a different baseball, some kind of supposed to work on the changeup or something. So he might not have had his normal grip. But
well, so he broke a window, so he's probably sleeping in the doghouse now.
So maybe he's
maybe he's just on the outs. Maybe he's just a stressed out guy. Maybe he's misunderstood, Reed. Maybe he's just taking his anger out and he's misunderstood. So now he wants to, I don't know, get some vigilante justice. Maybe he thinks he really is a superhero. Maybe he is fighting for the voice of the voiceless. Oh, wait, no, it's not the voiceless, because that's all we hear about is how much the Astros suck and how they cheated. So he's definitely not fighting for the voiceless. He's just piggybacking on a situation. That's what he's doing. Well, he's taking the easy way out. He walked off. He took the easy way out. I mean, I don't know. I hope we see him. The Astros play 2 more games in LA later in the season, 2 or 3 more games. That'd be cool if he would to come back to there, and then maybe Correa or somebody hits a home run off him. That'd be nice. That'd be a little nice.
That's another thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Correa in the offseason. Correa has got the biggest gonads, man. I just want to throw that out there. In the offseason,
yes, that's
he
good.
straight up told Cody Bellinger to shut the F up. And then in his first at bat against the Dodgers, hits a dong shot. Is that not just perfect?
People want to say, okay, well, Correa is just mad because he couldn't do this or that. No, Correa was the entire offense last night. He was responsible. He was responsible for the Astros' 2 runs. So if you want to take a shot at the Astros and their pitching and their young pitching, mind you, these guys weren't supposed to be. Valdez was not supposed to be the starter. Your Urquidy was. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be Valdez on the mound. For the most part, I think Valdez did good until
he did look pretty good.
The 5th inning. But
we're going to talk a little bit about that game itself a little bit.
Yeah. So I just agree. I agree with you. I think Correa, he talked the talk and he walked the walk. Now, I am a little bit upset with Altuve's performance, and Springer's just been struggling ever since the season started. Hopefully he can get out of his slump. But there's some guys you can point to that were struggling, but Correa was not one of them.
No, absolutely not. Let's break down that Correa at bat real quick, right? So later on in the inning, Correa comes to the plate. Here's that pitch, that curveball that just about hits him, right? It's a curveball, but did you see where that pitch hit? That pitch hit almost at his head. Now, I'm not saying that's where he was trying to throw the pitch. Curveball almost hits Correa, right? Almost hits him shoulder back, side of the head. Not going to feel good, even if it is a curveball. Correa's giving him looks. Correa's staring him down. He's like, hey, why are you throwing at my head? Whether this was intentional or not, you can understand. Look, there he is staring him down. You can understand why Correa's upset. Strikes him out. Now look at Kelly. takes 2 steps towards the mound, long enough to say, nice swing. Let's say it. Nice swing, bitch, is what he says.
Yes.
Nice swing, bitch. Gets his words in. They get a moment to stare at each other. Now watch what Joe Kelly does here, Parker. I'm going to go ahead and head to the dugout, make faces at you while I'm walking away. I'm not going to face you. I'm going to turn my back to you and shout stuff at you as I walk away. Meanwhile, Correa is leading the charge to the dugout. This shot here, ladies and gentlemen.
So a baby face too. I mind you, a baby.
This shot here, ladies and gentlemen. The 2 teams are hashing it out here. Correa's right here. Where's Joe Kelly?
He's in the dugout.
He's in the dugout. He's over here. He doesn't want any of this.
He's not in the picture.
And you can be like, oh, it's baseball. When you get out of the inning, you walk to the dugout. Dude.
Not if the bench is clear and you're the one walking the other way. You're supposed to have your team's back. Exactly. Come on now, Joe.
Amir Garrett is a prime example of what you do as a pitcher when you're looking for a fight. All right, I'm going to get this strikeout. Now it's time to kick some ass. I'm running.
Now I'm just going to stand my ground. You're right.
Instead, Joe Kelly gets his strikeout, gets his 2 cents in, never turns back towards Correa, is just shouting over his shoulder at him. Parker, if you're going to get in a fight with somebody, if you're looking to get in a fight and to prove your point.
I'm more of a lover, not a fighter.
But let's just say you are. Let's say you're trying to get in a fight.
I'm in an alternate universe where my evil
Parker's
twin, where all I do is lift weights and snort cocaine.
You're getting ready to get in a fight. Do you turn your back to the guy you're trying to get in a fight with?
Not unless I want to go for an RKO or a stunner, because I watch a lot of WWE. So sometimes you can walk away from somebody, act casual, and then all of a sudden, boom, you hit them with an RKO over the shoulder. It's not recommended, though, because in real fights, I don't think that move works. But in WWE, it works a lot.
I would have loved to have seen him try.
Yeah, an RKO would have been awesome. He just whiffs and falls and breaks his own neck.
If Correa had charged him and he had pulled that off,
RKO would have been nice. I would have given him props for that.
Joe Kelly. But no.
I would have said, yes, you are a legend at that point.
But no, instead he walks away shouting over his shoulder while Correa, and they'll probably show it here in a minute, while Correa is taking all his gear off, right? Like he's taking his gear and he's flipping it over. He's like, all right, man, this is about to go down. Let's do it. So at some point, Correa says, why are you walking away, B-word? Where are you going? Where are you going, Joe Kelly? You wanted to fight. So now you're walking away. And look at Carlos Kelly's. All right, you got me. So Correa starts. They didn't show the scene that I wanted them to show. But there is a spot where Correa is literally taking his gloves in it. Gloves. It's right after he strikes out. He's like, "Oh man, you got me." And then Kelly says his piece. He says, "Hey, nice swing, B-word." And Correa's like, "Oh, okay, we're doing this." So he starts taking his gear off. He takes his little arm guard off, flips it behind him, and starts walking towards Kelly in the Dodgers dugout by himself. This is before Altuve's gotten there. This is before Yuli has gotten there.
He's leading the charge. He has no backup.
He's walking towards the Dodgers dugout, ready for a fight. What is Joe Kelly doing? He's already in the dugout. Joe Kelly doesn't turn around until he is behind the rest of his team. He doesn't face Correa until he's behind the rest of his team.
Well, I hope
That's pretty telling.
There's no way you can say it. You can see it any other way. I mean, I don't understand how you can unless you just really want to make it out like Correa is just some kind of weakling or, whatever. But he's obviously not. He did exactly. And I'm glad that Correa didn't do anything crazy, because I'm glad we get to keep him and he's not suspended for, 8 games because as soon as the Astros retaliate, if one of them does retaliate, which eventually I think Bregman or Correa or somebody is going to retaliate, maybe even Yuli. We saw Yuli get pretty fired up in the dugout.
Yuli was ready to throw hands.
One of these guys in the season is going to retaliate, and I guarantee you the full force of the league is going to come down on the Astros as soon as that happens. As soon as the Astros lift a finger in retaliation, they're going to get the full brunt of it. So I think Correa had that in mind. He's a pretty smart guy. He probably knew, hey, I can't go and charge after him, run full force, and jack him up like I want to, because in a short season like this with 60 games, Ken Rosenthal kind of tweeted this out. He's like, the 8-game suspension is more like a 22-game suspension, because of how short the season is. So you can't. I mean, you miss a game or two, that's like missing 5 or 6 games. So it's big time down the stretch. It's a sprint to the finish. So I think Correa definitely did the smart thing, but he wasn't backing down by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, and I'm not surprised by the length of the suspension at all. Going into this season, Manfred was making it very clear that he wasn't going to stand for any of this retaliation stuff. I mean, whether you see it as defending the Astros or not, he was not going to have it. He made it very clear that there's going to be consequences if you put yourself in a situation like this. That's one reason why I'm not surprised the suspension was as long as it was. The other one, it's a COVID world, man. You can't have interactions. You're not supposed to be getting close to each other. And by Joe Kelly throwing at Correa and causing this entire fuss and instigating and the way he did, he caused this bench clearing. It's his fault. It's the Dodgers' fault for instigating that situation. So that is why Manfred was so harsh on the suspension. Whether it was 8 games and 120, I don't give a damn. I don't care. It's the amount of games. I understand that it impacts you more in a shorter season, but Manfred's not taking that into account when he's dishing down a suspension. Just because it's a shortened season doesn't mean that you can throw at someone's head and only get sit out 1 game.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. It's fair. I mean, it would have been 8 games regardless of how long the season is. You can't minimize punishments. That's like in an NBA, if someone does something stupid and they fine them, well, we were going to fine you $100,000, but since you're only playing 5 games, I think we're going to only fine you like 20,000. No, that's not how it works. The punishment is consistent all the way through. 8 games is 8 games. Even if it would have carried into next season, I mean, I don't care how long he would have got spent. Whatever you want to do at that point, the dude's trying to kill you. He's trying to throw at your head and knock you out or hurt you in a really bad way. It's not the same thing as pegging somebody on the shoulder. These guys are professionals. He was pitching inside way too many times. Good job for Manfred for sticking to his guns.
And good job to Correa and the Astros for not letting that situation get out of hand. It's weird because at one point, part of me is like, man, I really wish Correa had charged him. And he just beat his ass. Part of me I wish Joe Kelly had stood his ground like a man and gotten what he was asking for. But he said he ran away with his tail tucked between his legs. But the other part of me is like, I'm glad nothing came out of it because, like you said, now the Dodgers are without one of their bullpen arms. Whether he's good, one of their good ones or not, they're without a bullpen arm. Look at the Astros. They'd love to have a stretched out arm like Joe Kelly right now, a guy that can give you innings, has good velocity, while he may be a
I'd take Joe Kelly. I mean, heck, his pitching ability, like Brendan said, give him props. Whatever. His pitching is still good. It's still a lot better than what the Astros have right now. Although with that, I guess that Scrubs guy and that Belak, I mean, there's some young guys in the Astros rotation that while we're admitting the Astros have a lot of faults, there's some young guys that have shown some promise. And Dusty is the type of guy that he's willing to let those guys develop and not pull them out too quick. I think A.J. Hinch was always trying to be one step ahead, and sometimes that got him in trouble, sometimes it didn't. But Dusty's the type of guy that if the pitcher gets in trouble, he's going to let the pitcher figure out a way to get out of trouble. He's not going to pull the pitcher out. He keeps those guys in there, which I think players can respect from Dusty. He's going to let you – if you play yourself into a bad situation, he's going to let you play yourself out of it.
And now let's not make a hypocrite of ourselves here. I'm not saying Joe Kelly's a good relief pitcher by any means. I think he's way past his prime. You can go look at the last year's playoffs. What I'm saying is the situation the Astros are in right now, they could use a guy that has that much bullpen experience. Now, I don't want Joe Kelly on my team. I don't want a punk like that on my team.
Not now.
We
dealt
with that with Carlos Gomez and Mike Fiers. So I do not want him on my team. All I was trying to say, I'm just trying to make sure that people don't come at us saying that we just dished Joe Kelly and I want him on our team. All I'm saying is we're transitioning into the Astros pitching situation. I think an arm like Kelly would be great. Don't want Joe Kelly. Make that very clear. And Joe Kelly is not what he once was. And he's a little punk, and he deserves what he got. Let's move on to the Astros pitching. A big key in that game. They started off with Framber Valdez, a guy that's got major league experience, right? Not a single other arm that appeared in that game has played in the major leagues before 2020. Enoli Paredes made his debut earlier this year. While he's an exciting arm, has not pitched in the major leagues in 2019. Andre Scrub had never pitched past Double-A before playing yesterday. And Nivaldo Rodriguez hadn't pitched past Class A. That is the bullpen situation the Astros are dealing with right now. We've got a bunch of young kids making their debuts right now because Joe Smith elected not to play. Ryan Presley is currently not pitching. Chris Davinsky's currently not pitching. Who else is out? You got Justin Verlander, who's out for a while.
Biagini, I think he's out too.
Biagini just went on the IL. We are really short on arms right now. The Yankees essentially got to play 5 innings of that game against minor leaguers.
Yeah,
and
the Dodgers.
fact that we held them to 5 runs, they got all their runs in 1 inning, and then they never scored in another inning in the game. That's pretty positive for me.
And I think the Fox Sports announcers were saying, I don't know if it was a big storyline on AT&T Sports, but FS1, give them credit. They were pointing out that what the Dodgers were doing, where they were getting walks and they were getting singles. They weren't getting a lot of extra base hits. I don't know if they got maybe 1 extra base hit. I know they went the entire game without hitting a home run. They were getting a lot of singles and walks. It's not like they were knocking the cover off the ball.
No, absolutely not. They were just kind of getting these little bloop hits.
Yeah.
And that inning where they got all the runs, the only reason they got a lot of them was because they worked the bases loaded because Paredes was having control issues.
And they were getting like one run here, one run there.
I think they got a 2-run single. They got all their runs on these little – they didn't really square any of these rookies up, which is really promising. Andre Scrub looked way better than I was expecting him to. Nivaldo Rodriguez, a guy who has never pitched above Class A ball, recorded his first major league strikeout on Cody Bellinger. Put that on your resume, Bellinger.
Yeah. And by the way, that Scrub, is it Scrubs or Scrub? Scrub, I think.
Scrub. I think it's Scrub.
Yeah, he was not getting a lot of the high strike calls. So in the strike zone, whoever the umpire was, if it was at the chest or at the high part of the zone, he wasn't getting any of those calls all night. So any of the high corners, high strikes, where Scrub would kind of float that breaking ball and it would just get the top of the zone, he was not getting those calls all night. So he was getting into some 0-1, 0-2 situations, and give him credit. He didn't panic. He didn't go out of his way. He didn't change game plans. He just straight up he just kept attacking, kept doing his stuff, even though he wasn't getting a lot of his calls. It was a very hitter-friendly strike zone last night.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good positive thing for the Astros fans to take out of last night's game, is the pitching. Patrick says 2 runs were off bases loaded walks and 1 was an error. So that just goes to prove our point. Yep. 3 of their runs, which was the difference in the game, weren't even on big hits. They were on walks and errors. So, and of course you'll take the runs any way you can get them in a close game like that against a really good team like the Astros, but. That just goes to prove our point that we had some.
So that's a 2-2. That's a 2-2 game right there. If you take those away,
exactly. So and they struggled to square up these minor leaguers, and that's a really good sign for those Astros. That Astros bullpen, that maybe some of these younger guys can come up and contribute. I really liked what I saw from Nivaldo Rodriguez. I mean, the strikeout of Cody Bellinger is a nice example of that. He wasn't backing down from these major league guys. He was coming right at them. So. That was nice to see. It'll be interesting to see who they pitch tonight. I know that Christian Javier, an exciting prospect, is getting the start. We'll see how he does against Dustin May, the redheaded, hard-throwing kid. The Dodgers have some flamethrowers coming out of that bullpen.
They do.
I will notice
they have a good team.
They had that Bruce Dark Ratterall kid come in throwing 100. I think he reached 101. So,
they have a good team, and I just want to run this by the people at home. I know I don't have any fancy ways to share the screen, but if people can see this at home, it's the rankings. Let's see here. You got the rankings right here, and it has the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the favorites to win the World Series. Of course, this is just from Fox Sports, so I don't give this any accuracy or anything like that. But going on and looking at these choices here, you have the Dodgers at 1, the Yankees at 2, the Rays at 3, the Indians at 4, and these guys, even though they want to talk so much crap on the Astros, they still, even with the Astros pitching and the Astros struggles and all that stuff, these guys still know the Astros are a good team, and they put them in there at number 5. But out of this little thing here, Reed, you see it's like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Rays, the Indians, and the Astros. Do you agree with this list, or do you think maybe it's a little generous? The Indians kind of surprised me, but I'm honestly surprised the Astros were even ranked in the top 5 because for a Fox Sports announcer to do that's got to be swallowing a lot of pride there because I know they really don't like the Astros. So I was surprised to see them in the top 5.
I'm gonna try and pull it up because isn't this what's in our Twitter?
Yeah, it's in our Twitter if you can get to it. But
so I'm gonna try and pull it up as we talk about it. But yeah, so the fans, the viewers can get a better look at what we're talking about. But I think it's pretty decent. I think there's even with all the stuff going on with the Astros, they're still a very good team. They have probably the best lineup in all of baseball, and I don't think you can really argue that. I think the Rays are deservedly where they're at number 3. They're a very good team. They've probably got the best pitching situation in the entire 60-game season. Just with Chuck on the mound, and they've got Tyler Glasnow, and they got some really good bullpen pieces. I think they're in a really good spot. As I'm trying to pull this thing up for you viewers.
Yeah, I just sent it to the chat, so it should be at the bottom.
So y'all can get a look at what we're talking about. The Indians were a little surprising. I didn't think their pitching was worthy of being where they're at, personally. They don't have the pitching they used to have. They have Clevenger. I think Carlos Carrasco is back, but I don't know if Carlos Carrasco is quite worth being putting that team that high. As you can see, there it is there. The Astros at 5, Indians at 4, Rays at 3, Yankees at 2, Dodgers at 1. I think you could interchange the Dodgers and the Yankees there at 1-2. If the Astros were fully healthy and they had their entire bullpen and Justin Verlander was good to go, I think the Astros could be in one of those top 3 spots very easily. So the fact that they still put him at 5, even without Justin Verlander, says a lot. People forget how good Zach Greinke and Lance McCullers are, especially now that Lance is healthy again. I think the Astros really should be at least 4. I'm surprised the Indians are ranked higher than them. Mm-hmm. I'm with you there. I'm surprised the Indians are ranked higher, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just glad we're still in the top 5. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Fox Sports thinks. This is going to be such an unpredictable season as far as the shortened season. One team could get hot, one team could fall cold at the wrong time. You have a bad week and a half, and you're way behind. So it's very unpredictable, very hard to tell. Considering the circumstances, I'm pretty pleased with it.
I agree, and I'm just like you said, I'm curious to see how this season will go. I think it's telling that the Astros are playing. First off, you look at it. Those are all American League teams except for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the one National League team, and they're sitting up there at number 1. But the next 4 teams are American League. Kind of shows you the discrepancy of the 2 leagues and where the talents are. But I guess the Dodgers, they're kind of running away with that number 1 spot. But I don't know. I think the way the Astros played the Dodgers last night, even though they didn't have their guys, the way they're hopefully going to play them tonight at 6 or so, whenever the game starts tonight, we'll definitely be tuning in for that. I think the Astros, if they even split this 1-1 against the number 1 ranked Dodgers, are the favorite to win it all, because the Dodgers are talented. Give them that. They have defense. They have pitching. Their lineup looks good. If the Astros can hang in there and steal one of these games, which would be tonight, I think that's a big testament to the Astros, because they're not full health. They're not having their best pitching right now. Springer's struggling. A couple guys are struggling at the plate. This would be a big win tonight if the Astros could get it. Absolutely.
The game starts at 6:10. We'll try to get done before then so that our viewers can go tune into that game. We want to watch that game ourselves, so we will start wrapping things up here pretty quick. I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation. Of course, the goal today was to crap all over Joe Kelly and how big of a punk he is, and I think we've done that pretty well. But I do want to talk a little bit of NFL.
NFL, yep.
Got the NFL season right around the corner. Both the Dallas Cowboys and Houston Texans are in it at least a little bit. The Dallas Cowboys are in it much more than the Texans are, I think you could pretty safely say. But Texans still have Deshaun Watson, and they have a pretty good defense. So, as long as Bob can get out of his own way, I think the Texans are still a pretty good team with somewhat of a chance to at least make the playoffs. What are kind of your expectations for this upcoming season as a Texans fan?
As a Texans fan, I'll get into it. I mean, I'm not really expecting a whole hell of a lot from the Texans this year, but I do still think they can win the. I've been true to this. I've been true to this from the beginning. Even though I don't expect them to get over the hump, I still think they can win their division, their AFC South division. I really do. I'm not impressed with Phillip Rivers and the Colts. I know the Titans are supposed to scare me, but they really don't. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars are always. I mean, they had a good season when their defense was rolling, but ever since then they've been really struggling. So I do expect the Texans to win the AFC South, and I expect Deshaun Watson to. I think what people don't understand is now without Hopkins, I'm trying to be as positive as I can here. Without Hopkins, I do think Deshaun Watson will have the ability to spread the ball around, maybe make it to where Hopkins isn't the only guy you have to watch out for, because last year it was like Hopkins and then maybe sometimes Fuller, but that's really it. Fuller got hurt a lot too, so a lot of times Fuller wouldn't even play a full game because he would have a hamstring injury or something. So you would have to worry about Fuller stretching the defense. But now you got guys like Fuller, Brandon Cooks. If Kenny Stills can stay on the field, I don't know his whole situation, but you got some little speed guys. You don't have that go-to number one guy. Like I think that the Cowboys were kind of in this boat, and then they ended up getting Amari Cooper, and then everything started to change. And now the receiving core is one of the best receiving cores out there. But the Texans are kind of in that limbo state where they really don't have that go-to guy, but they have some speed. They have some guys that can go out over the top. And I think they can surprise some teams if they can get that run game going and maybe do some play action over the top and really launch it. I think maybe the Texans can steal some games and be competitive, especially with Deshaun Watson. I still think every game he's in, he gives you a fighting chance. So I'm a little more optimistic getting closer to football season. We'll see how I am in August. I'll probably be too optimistic. But right now I'm a realist before the season starts, but as the season gets closer, I get more and more optimistic. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited about them. And the Rockets are starting their NBA season July 31st this Friday. I'm really, really excited about the Rockets. I think they really do have a chance to maybe surprise some people.
Ryan says you're sleeping on the Titans.
Sleeping on the Titans, I probably am, man, but I just don't. The Texans played them once last year, and they beat them in Tennessee when the Titans won 7 games in a row. They went into Tennessee and beat them, and then at the end of the season, they played the Titans with their third string. They didn't have Watson. I think AJ McCarron was their quarterback. Or no, I don't know who the quarterback was. Some random guy was their quarterback, and they actually played a competitive game with their third string guys and almost beat them again. So I think the Texans play the Titans very well. So I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, their run game is obviously Derrick Henry in both those games didn't really have a great showing in either of those games. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. He's the monster. He's the guy you have to worry about. Not going to sleep on Derrick Henry. If anything, now Derrick Henry's just going to run right over us because I've talked all this smack. But I definitely respect Henry, but I just don't get as scared over the Titans as some teams do.
As for the Cowboys, it's going to be one of those seasons where if we can just avoid the distractions, even with the whole Dak Prescott situation and his whole contract thing, if we can avoid these distractions and can keep our focus on the field, Dak Prescott shows up and plays like he doesn't, plays like he's trying to earn that contract. And prove that he's the guy, or at least he's the guy for another team. I think the Cowboys have all the weapons to get this thing done. I mean, they've got one of the best offensive lines in football. They've got the best. I like Saquon and Christian McCaffrey too much to say that Zeke's the best. I put Zeke in the top 3 anyway. But
I like Zeke. I like those other guys too, but I really like Zeke.
Yeah, I think Zeke is a very prototypical running back, hard-nosed.
Yeah, that's probably why I like him, because he reminds me. Yeah. He reminds me of a north-south Derrick Henry. He's a Derrick Henry type guy. I mean, he's going to run you over.
Yeah, he's a find your gap and hit it,
Yeah.
regardless whether someone's there or not type guy. Christian McCaffrey does a little bit of everything. Saquon Barkley's just dynamic, so they're very different.
Those guys are crazy. Yeah.
But I'd put Zeke at 3 for me personally if we wanted to get into that. But receiving core is one of the best in the league. Amari Cooper is a true number 1. He's developed into that. Michael Gallup's one of the best deep threats in the entire league. He shows it over and over and over again. He's underrated. I'm really excited to see what CeeDee Lamb does. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be a really exciting dude. And we know the defense can get it done. Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch aren't going to let anything up over the middle at linebacker. The only area on the defense I'm concerned about is the secondary. I think our corners are going to be okay. It's the safeties a little bit worried about. We'll see what happens there as the season goes on. But for the most part, I think that they've got everything they need to win. I think Mike McCarthy is a winner. He's won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes to win a Super Bowl. I think they've got all the weapons to get it done. Patrick agrees with me. Michael Gallup's underrated. He's the most underrated wide receiver in the league, if you ask me. I think he could be a number 1. I think he probably benefits from playing along Amari Cooper and makes him look better than he is. But at the end of the day, he makes plays, and that's what you need your
He'd be the best. He'd be the best receiver on the Texans if he went there.
He'd be the best receiver on a lot of teams. But
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Now he's never been the number 1 guy. He's our target. So put him on the number 1 corner. We'll find out how good he really is. But in the past few years with the Cowboys, he's been probably their most dynamic receiver. Amari Cooper's the reliable guy. He's taking the Jason Witten. You need a first down role. Michael Gallup makes the big plays, and I think they're hoping by adding CeeDee Lamb, now you got 2 big playmakers. Things open up for Amari Cooper even more. Just gives Dak Prescott so many options to go with the football. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited for the season. I'm really curious to see what happens with the fans situation and how all that goes. And I think the NFL's done a much better job about putting their players at ease as far as the COVID situation. I know that Nate Solder, one of the league's better tackles, opted out today, though. But he's a guy that has some cancer history, and some of his family has some health issues. So it makes a lot of sense for a guy like that to opt out. But that'll be something to keep an eye on. I think just like the Major League Baseball, just like MLB, the team that stays healthy and has the least amount of cases is going to win a lot of games. Obviously, the Miami Marlins are not one of those teams. So
they can't follow the rules. They can't do anything right.
They've never been able to do much right. But I think that's going to do it for this week's 1203. A little bit shorter, but we got an important baseball game starting here in about 10 minutes, and we want to get to that. We'll see if anything happens with that, and if it does, we might have to do an emergency show if things get crazy. No guarantees on that, though, but we'll be tuning in. For those of you that didn't get to listen to the whole show live, it'll be going live on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts sometime tomorrow, hopefully before noon. So stay tuned for that. The 1203 goes live every Wednesday at 5. Make sure you don't miss a single episode. We're hoping to start bringing on some guests who got in talks to bring on a guy that broke some pretty big Yankees cheating news. Hopefully we can get him on the show.
Fingers crossed on that.
Fingers crossed. He's a really big guy as far as he's got a lot of sources. He worked for USA Today and a couple other sources. So really hoping to get him on. Hoping to start bringing on some guests on the 1203. And something y'all want to hear us talk about, let us know. Drop it in the comments. Send us a DM. Follow us on Twitter, Old Man Entertainment. And if you're listening to the podcast, give us a review. It really helps us grow. That's going to do it for us today, though. I hope y'all enjoyed today's 1203. I know Parker and I did. Parker, enjoy Carville, man.
I'm ready, man. Just going to relax and eat some food and watch some Astros.
Go, Stros, go, and Joe Kelly is a little bitch.